parents are fallible, and I hope that most of our learnings, I hope that we've got balanced learnings against our own parents' failings as well as their successes.
Yeah, because no one had perfect parents, right?
Absolutely not. And some didn't have them at all, or even half of them.
Welcome to A Father's Flame podcast. Today we have Aaron Agius. He is an international entrepreneur, thought leader, speaker, and writer. He is also the co-founder and managing director of the award-winning global marketing agency, Louder.online. Since co-founding Louder.online 11 years ago, Aaron has built the agency to become a successfully and fully distributed company with over 70 team members across 10 locations worldwide. He is a consultant to Fortune 100 clients around the globe. Aaron has been honored to work with several billion-dollar businesses, including Salesforce, Intel, and IBM. His areas of expertise cover all facets of digital marketing, including multi-channel strategy, SEO, PPC, CRO, content marketing, and online PR. Recognized as one of the top 25 MarTech companies in Asia Pacific region, Louder.online has also been described by Forbes as one of the world's leading digital agencies. And he is a prolific leadership writer and regular contributor to sites like Content Marketing Institute, HubSpot, Forbes, Entrepreneur, Fortune, Search Engine, Journal, and Business.com. To date, he has produced more than 1,000 guest articles and has been featured on various podcasts, including Mixed Energy, Entrepreneur on Fire, Total CEO, and now A Father's Flame podcast. Welcome today, Aaron.
Thank you. That was a mouthful, and a slightly outdated mouthful, but it was still accurate. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sounds like we need to update some of these stats, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's been a good 15 years now that the agency's been operating, and there's been a few other clients, a few other things that we've been focused on in the last few years. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, since you're a global entrepreneur, I kind of want to dig into how did this come about? What's a little bit about your story, your up and coming, your life? Did you start with a job or did you start right into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I started with jobs. I'm not very good at them. I do a good job. The managers always liked me, but the reality is I felt it didn't feel aligned. I felt like I was doing the work that I needed to do in about 25% of the time, and the rest of the time I was trying to figure out my own stuff on the side, and that just doesn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with me. I always got into the situation of being thinking I could do the job better than the managers, and then the managers wouldn't listen, wouldn't take my advice, wouldn't any of that, and so there's always friction. But yeah, where did I start? Out of school, I started in IT jobs because I knew computers. Started at uni or college doing a computer science degree that never got finished. So I went into working in tech support roles for Microsoft and a few of those big companies. Went from there to doing building big networks. Bought my first company at, I think I was about 22, which was a franchise, which is something I'll never do again. Because like most people, I thought that I needed the structure. I didn't have the experience, and I knew how to do the service, it was a computer repair franchise. I knew how to do the thing, but not the business around it. But then when I got the franchise figured out, it wasn't really that complicated, and I was spending a lot of money buying something I didn't need to. So ended up selling that. Went back into doing more networking jobs. And staying in IT, I didn't really like the whole idea that I was always it was reactive to people's problems. I was always trying to solve problems. It was always a negative thing. People come to you in a bad mood with a problem, with something that's going on, right? And so after after that was the last job I had. At that particular point, I got up and went and moved to Thailand. I sold properties, sold everything, got up and moved, and was on the edge of a remote island for about 6 months with my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife. And when we were there, we were basically going through a whole growth period where we were listening to How to Win Friends and Influence People, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, The Eighth Habit, all of those kind of self-help books. We're in this villa, we're playing at audiobooks and laying around doing nothing. Every second day going and doing Muay Thai fighting, Thai boxing, and then coming back and doing this. We decided when we were there, we have to figure out how to do this permanently, which was how to earn a strong currency and live on a cheap currency. The whole sort of geo arbitrage play. And it was right at that time, that was in 2007, 2008, was right at that time where there's loads of people out there saying they're making money on the internet. And we thought, well, there's got to be some sort of truth to it. And so we started trying to learn everything that we could about the internet and online marketing. And it took us 4 months of working nonstop in front of a laptop with no one to teach us. It was trying to figure it out, just completely figure it out from scratch. It took us 4 months before we earned any money, and we made 40 cents that day, which it sounds like nothing, but we were jumping and cheering and clapping because we knew then what we still know today, that the internet's almost infinitely scalable and can be highly automated. And that next day we turned that 40 cents into $400. And then we kept scaling and going. And basically that was through affiliate marketing. We were selling other people's products, taking a clip here and there. And we got up, traveled around the world from that point. And that was pretty much the start of the agency, Louder.online, when people started saying, well, surely if you can do that for other people's products, you can tell me how to do it for my business. Our plumber friend would ask us how to do it, or small businesses here and there. And so the consulting arm started. We started consulting through small businesses all the way up to the biggest companies in the world. And we're still doing it today.
That's so awesome. Now, I kind of chuckled when you said 40 cents, but so tell me, how good did it feel though to you got a deposit, right?
It felt cents. Really good. It was just validation that literally we were in this sea of darkness trying to figure out everything on our own. There was very few people out there that were legitimately trying to help. People were selling courses on how to make money, and that was the way they were making money, and that was the only way. So it was just a sea of mess at the time. There wasn't enough out there. There weren't enough people truly there to help. And we had no one. So figuring it out off our own back was good validation to get that 40 cents in. Even better validation to turn it into $400 the next day. And the proof was there. And 4 months of working for nothing on a hope that it's going to be valuable it was big. It was a big call. And it wasn't just me. It was my girlfriend, my wife, but my girlfriend at the time, both doing it, trying to figure out how to make $200 to pay for some tiny program that we hope is actually going to change everything, and all this kind of thing. It was tough.
Interesting. So does she still work with you today, or what does she do in the company?
Yeah, well, today, I mean, we spoke of one company. We now have 6 or more, I think. So Gian does work in 2 of our companies at the moment. Still doing different roles in different areas, and it's great. She's fantastic. I wish I could pick things up as quick as she does.
I kind of want to, maybe I'll stay on this topic then. So what is it like working with your wife? Because so you guys have been doing this for 15 years. Were you CEO or you're president, she's vice president, or is she, how does that work?
It's tough from that perspective because I find myself, and I'm very often caught out speaking from an I perspective instead of a we perspective, and that gets me into a world of trouble, and deservedly so. Just because like I'm 99.9% of my time speaking to anyone else in any of our companies, and so that's just the vernacular that comes out. But that's something that I get caught up on. The other thing is that we try to work in different areas, and not because there's friction, just because it's easier. Like we're both bosses, we're both founders, we both own the companies equally. She has every right to be controlling and making calls and decisions on things that are different to mine. And so why not put ourselves in the position to be able to do that without creating friction for the other?
Sure. What's so in 15 years of working with her, what does it look like today that you didn't do back then? Like, cause you're like, oh, I learned to quit fighting that fight. What is, say, like a tip for somebody who's just starting, like me and my wife we're starting a spot where, okay, we're going to probably own a couple businesses here shortly, and I want her to play a part in it, but I want to maybe glean from what you've learned to not do the certain things like you were talking about, speaking in
How many kids do you have?
We have 5 kids right now. And she homeschools our kids now and kind of runs the home. Like she's CEO right
you
there.
You just said so much stuff there that I'm like, remember that is at least as much, if not more, of the work that you are putting in. You're the CEOs of your life, not just the company or the companies. And when your wife or your partner takes the time off to raise the kids, they're going to come back feeling disconnected from the workforce, feeling like they might be a bit behind, be a little bit behind, feeling like they want to catch up, like it's unfair, like I did this for us, and you're going all guns blazing in one direction. Being cognizant of all of those things in advance and ensuring that your partner doesn't feel punished or left behind for doing something that was for you both and for the family and was a joint decision. I think that is really key, which I'm sure with 5 kids you will have experienced. There's a lot of downtime having to raise those kids.
Oh yeah, she puts a lot of time. I mean, like in my previous career as a firefighter, like I'd put a lot of time in at work, and there's overtime and working on these entrepreneurial endeavors for years, and I still think she works harder than I do. Just trying to keep our house going till lunchtime is more work than I did in like 2 weeks.
If you've ever switched and taken over for a period of time, it is absolutely exhausting. It is ridiculous how hard it is to just handle that. And hey, I'm an ex-firefighter too, and putting out fires at work is very different to putting them out at home.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is way more skilled at that. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it gets me nervous. Like if she wants to go do something, and it's like, oh, for like a couple hours or like a day. What are we doing here? Because
dripping down the side.
Yeah,
no, I'm fully supportive. Okay. Please do anything you want.
How many meals do we have to go out for? With all these kids. Okay, how many times do I got to go to McDonald's?
How many times can they eat pizza in a row without getting sick? And how can I hide the boxes from the wife before she comes home?
Yeah, because she's gonna be mad when she sees all that. So, oh man, yeah, she does a lot of work. So what are your thoughts on this marketing company that you guys have built? So this is a big thing for business, because almost every business needs marketing, right, Aaron?
Everyone does, yeah.
Everyone does.
Especially during a downturn, that's when people should be marketing.
So here's my question to you. When does someone outsource marketing, right? Because if there's people bootstrapping businesses like you did, you kind of have to do that for a little bit. But at what point does someone approach a company like yours?
That's a broad question. When there's a lack of skill set internally, when there's enough budget to handle it, knowing that most of your efforts probably won't see the results you want, and especially in a time frame that you're expecting them. It's Yeah, I mean, those couple of things are really key. It depends on who you have internally. The problem is not so much deciding when, but is deciding who. There is zero barrier to entry in our industry. In this particular industry, I own businesses in other industries. In the marketing industry, there's zero barrier to entry. There's fly-by-night scammers. It is just too easy for people to come say they're a marketing agency and take your money, provide no results, string you along. That's the hardest bit in my mind, being able to see through that stuff.
Finding the right company. So you want them to have history. You want them to, have proven like testimonials.
Yeah, speak to the customers, and just the proof's in the pudding. And all the stuff you said in my intro, we eat our own dog food. We do content marketing and SEO and a range of different things for ourselves. We live and breathe it for ourselves, so the evidence is clear. If you Google my name, the first 10 pages are all something that is about me, an interview or something that I've written or created. So from a brand control and brand management perspective, we're out there doing it, right? So if we're out there in a pitch for marketing, and we're coming up against someone else, the price is about the same, the design of the documents and the proposals looks good, it all looks professional, and they're going to go out and Google me or Google someone from an unknown agency, I've got a leg up, right?
Sure.
I've got all this implied credibility and authority from all these different places and publications.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how small companies do you guys work with?
It's never the sort of number of seats in the company. It's more just budget. The thing that we won't do is work with companies that have got we've got $1,000 or $2,000 a month to spend, and we want to give it to you, and you grow our business. It's just unrealistic. It is not enough to be multi-channeled. It is typically the smaller businesses have the same, way greater expectations than enterprise companies for the kind of returns that can be delivered. And they live or die based on the results. And so they're onto you every day. Account management is huge and high. Whereas you go to an enterprise company, they'll give you $100,000 a month, and you're one of 12 things that they're doing simultaneously, and they all understand the synergistic benefits of them all. And the account management overhead is actually lower. So, I didn't answer that too clearly, but it's typically budget based. We probably don't work with companies under $5,000 a month, but that's on the very small end.
So really, to scale through marketing, you kind of need about minimum $5,000.
Yeah, you'd want to be comfortable losing $5,000, because any marketing is a risk. It doesn't matter what you're doing. There's no guarantees to any of it. So if you can handle losing that, especially if you can do SEO and content marketing, which is 6 to 12 months to see results, then that's a long hold of a lot of cash before you're going to see results, right? Sure. If you go down the pay-per-click route and ads and that kind of thing, sure, more expensive, but you're going to see faster results.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be more confident throwing pay-per-click or more cash into something, giving it to a skilled person like you and your company, right, than me just trying to learn it all and run my company at the same time, right? Or I'm divided on what I can.
This is the thing. People just think, I'll just go do it myself. I'm going to waste thousands of dollars on an agency. I'll just figure it out myself. Well, bookkeepers exist because it's a whole business. Accounting people exist, tax people exist, marketing people exist, ads people, SEO people, content people, because these are full businesses. Yeah, you're thinking that you're going to be able to go and compete with other companies that this is all they do, and you think you're going to go and learn that while doing your business and your own bookkeeping and everything else to try and keep costs low. This is why I don't love startups.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you're into buying established businesses, right? On the other side of things.
That's definitely where we've gone over the last few years. We went through periods of starting a few, And it just the sheer energy that has to be outputted, put out, put out to be able to get something off the ground as a startup is outrageous. Or you can know the numbers you need to buy something at and see profitability from day one, and it just makes complete sense. So yeah, we've gone down that path. We've acquired a couple of different marketing agencies, some mortgage broking businesses, education business, and there's a few more things in the works at the moment.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I don't always get to talk to an expert marketer, so I wonder if I should ask you a few bonus questions. What
ask anything you want.
Okay, so let's say you had a startup. I got two friends that two people I know that they're like coming after some of the bigger apps that are out there with startups, right? That tech and I guess I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but actually I don't know. I feel like I should skip this question, but yeah, I'm going to scrap that one because I don't want to talk about their projects because they're not out yet and they're keeping them kind of under wraps until they launch. So, all right, so let's move on. Let's transition a little bit into let's go into family and let's see, because you're still living abroad. Is that correct? Right?
I am. Since starting and traveling, we actually haven't really gone back. We're from Sydney originally, Sydney, Australia, and we've then lived in Thailand for a few years. So the story went that we did all that traveling, started the agency, went back to Sydney and had our two boys. When my youngest, they're 14 months apart, when my youngest was 9 months, we got up and moved to Thailand, moved our whole house and lived there for 3 or 4 years. As they started getting a bit too big for a small island, we decided to move back to Sydney, which was a bad move and didn't enjoy that at all. Stayed there for 2 years, got up and moved to Singapore, and we've been here for 5 now.
That's awesome. And so goes back to the strategy where you said like earning like money from other countries, but living in a place where it's like efficient, with your money.
Well, then there's many reasons for it. It's purely on the financial. Yes, that's one of them. It's earning US or euros, whatever it is, and going and spending it on Singapore dollars here. It's nowhere near as great as being in Thailand at all. It's one of the most expensive countries in the world. But when we were there in Thailand, it was, yes, we're earning a strong currency, using it on Thai baht. So we've got massive arbitrage there. Staff that we were hiring is offshored in different places. So again, another level of arbitrage there. They're tax efficient places. So tax then drops to almost nothing or nothing in some circumstances. So you've got all these levels of compounding value from a financial perspective. And your quality of living is much higher. Your dollar goes so far that it's fantastic. That was one of the reasons. The other reason is just I would be in Thailand now with my feet in the sand on an island if I didn't have the kids.
Sure.
So I just love that. My wife and I love that kind of lifestyle, and so anything that's close to that is what we'll take. We're a direct 1 hour flight now from where we were in Thailand. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And so 2 boys, you said?
There was 2 boys, and now we have a baby girl as well. She was born here in Singapore 3 years ago.
Awesome. That's great. That is so good. How's the oldest? How old is the oldest?
11. 12.
Oh.
It's 12. Just turned 12.
I'm curious. So do you have thoughts on how you're going to teach them to work in the business, or are you kind of going to push them towards getting a degree? Do you have a strategy yet? I know they're young, but
yeah, I'm not. I'm not steadfast on that at all. I know it sounds cliche. I just want them to be happy. If they're
Sure.
happy working a 9 to 5 job, I would prefer that because they're everywhere and you can easily get one.
Oh yeah.
That don't come with the stresses of entrepreneurship and the risk levels and all that kind of stuff. Um, but I mean, they're both exceptionally interested in working in our companies. So it's more about just keeping them happy, and we give them tiny project-based stuff here and there, and just see if they're actually interested and have an affinity for any of that kind of stuff. But really, I think that'll be in the coming years that we'll start to see something of value being produced and go, okay, maybe there's a path here for them.
Gotcha. So what's it like raising a family in Singapore then? So I mean, I don't know, is your wife Australian?
Yes, yeah, she's
Okay.
Australian. So
Is there like a
we have no
community?
connection to Asia.
You have no, okay.
We just live here. There's our kids go to the biggest. I was going to say the biggest school. It might be the biggest school. It's certainly the most expensive school in the country. Is the Australian International School,
Okay.
and so the kids go there, which means there's thousands of kids there, and we have a big Australian community through that. Singapore's a very big expat place, so we've got loads of European friends here and friends from the US. Yeah, there's a lot of different communities that we're involved in. Bringing up the kids, it's a brilliant place to bring up the kids. If if you had all the money in the world, this is certainly where you'd kind of want to be raising kids, in my opinion. Other than the disconnect from wider family, but yeah, the schooling, hospital, healthcare, extracurricular activities, and closeness to anything. Like coming from Australia, you're 7 hours away from anywhere by flight. Over here, you're direct 1 hour flight to other countries. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome. So, do they do Australian football at this school?
They do, but my boys don't.
They
My boys
don't.
play
Okay.
soccer.
They're okay. They're footballers. Football.
Yes, football.
Okay.
They play just like their dad.
You were a soccer player?
Yeah. I've played since I was 6 years old. So
Okay.
I'm playing again on Friday, actually.
You're still playing soccer. Okay.
Well, that's one of the challenges over here as well. Is it is that hot constantly that it is a real challenge fitness-wise to be playing in this heat. I've got to try and do the conversions. It's near 100 degrees Fahrenheit almost every day. I'm going to Google it so I don't get this wrong.
Okay.
100
pretty hot.
Fahrenheit to Celsius. What do we got? Yeah, just shy, probably 98, 97, which is
With
36
humidity?
degrees. Humidity is ridiculous. So we oftentimes is standing on the field, and it's AstroTurf. So the fake grass, and they've got black rubber underneath it, and the sun's beaming down on the black rubber. Black rubber's bouncing back up, and you're pouring water on your boots because the sun's burning through before you've even kicked off.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then you got to run around at peak condition for 90 minutes. It's hard.
So I actually don't know how old you are. How old are you, Aaron? You're still playing
I'm
soccer.
41.
Okay. Oh man, you had a long career. Did you play in college? I mean, what did they do in Australia?
I didn't even get past first semester 3 times that I tried university.
Okay.
It wasn't working out for me. I was done with study, and I was supporting myself, and the jobs that I was getting, I was hiring people underneath me who had finished the degree that I was studying. And I was like, why? What am I doing? I'm already above that in the job that I'm doing. So I ditched it.
Isn't that kind of weird? Like, even with firefighting here, like I got this job. I got all the training after I got hired, and I'm like making more than people with a degree and that are educated here, equivalent or more. And it's kind of interesting.
Crazy. In Australia, salaries are nowhere. They're very terrible salaries for firefighters in Australia.
Okay.
I did not do that for the money. I did that for many other reasons. But
yeah,
was it hard to get in the US as a firefighter?
It really was. It is competitive still. I mean, there's a couple hundred people going for jobs. Unless you're in the real big city, then you might have thousands of people. But yeah, it was still competitive. And yeah,
we had 20,000 people go for 40 jobs.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any that competitive here in the U.S., but maybe in like New York but they hire like 1,000 people at a time though, not 40. So.
Yeah, well, we were 40, and it was the only cohort that year. So wow. It was, I think, and it's for New South Wales fire department or whatever it is, which is the second largest in the world after New York, and they only hired 40.
Wow.
So yeah, it was super competitive. There was like, you did all the physical, you had to do mental, you had to do intelligence-based stuff, emotional. Like it was 12 stages to get in. It's crazy.
Okay, yeah, it's similar here. Maybe not 12 stages, but yeah, cognitive, relational, physical, and then you're just oral boards. For sure, is competitive, and I didn't get into it for the money here. I knew it would be like a decent living, and really I made more money doing overtime and such. But I got into it for like the time off, and I was like, man, that'd be really awesome. But what I kind of found out over time is that the shift work that I was doing, we worked 2 days on, shifts. 4 days off, but then you start pulling an overtime shift, and now you're working 3 days away from home, and then home for 3 days, and it kind of can burn you out.
The weekends never exist. You just keep rolling, and so you never have to. It's exactly what I saw. I mean, the turbo dollars are nice on the callbacks, but it was. I mean, I'm saying nice. We had our agency, and I became a firefighter while running our agency because I was like, hang on a minute, I can work while I'm at work unless there's a call, and I can make double money, and I can figure this out, and I can tick a box of something I always wanted to do. Unfortunately, it didn't work family-wise with 2 young kids and rotating shifts, and when I wasn't working, I was working. So.
Yeah, now you're working almost 24/7.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it is nice having like that, being able to work at work. And honestly, that's where I used that time to like get my education, right. And meet up with guys like you and different masterminds. And, cause I kind of got red pilled years ago of like reading about entrepreneurship, trying some entrepreneurship, and then meeting some high level, entrepreneurs that are like running like 5 businesses, 10 businesses. And I was like, how does that guy do that? Anyways, so I used that time this last like 6 years to just educate, be in meetings if I could on Zoom or on calls to kind of get to the point now where I'm at, and getting into business buying and investing and such things. So no, that's cool. I played college soccer. I need to bring that up since you're such a soccer guy. I played 4 years in college, and then 1 year in a semi-professional here in Washington State. And then I just didn't have the drive to keep playing. And then we have like men's leagues, and I did a couple years of that. And then I always just got nervous about, blowing a knee out or something. And it's like, guys play harder, I feel like, in some of the men's leagues than the guys I played with in college. Like, those were intense games. I don't think
it's harder. I think it's more that they're less coordinated, less skilled, and they don't know how to control themselves. And that's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah, no, that you just clarified that really well, that they're going harder at you, like, but in a less professional way. So oh, that's funny. So soccer, that's awesome. Do you kind of push the sports with your kids, or does your wife? Okay.
We both do. My wife is a state level netballer, and she's fantastic at netball. So
what is netball?
It's big in the UK and Australia. It's basically like basketball, but no backboards, and you can't run with the ball. So you run around in different sections. You grab the ball, and you have to be passing it off, and
lots more passing. Okay.
Yeah, it's a really interesting sport, and she was brilliant at it. And so the kids have got a lot of sporting influence from the both of us. And yeah, I definitely push it onto them for many reasons, and not against their will. They're very good football players themselves. One just won the comp here 2 weeks ago, so they're very good.
That's awesome. So with raising boys or just kids, are you using a strategy that like this is like stuff that you learned from your mom and dad? Is this like your wife's parents, or are you guys in a place where it's like you're just like coming up with stuff that's just on your own? I mean, how much of an influence is your upbringing?
Subconsciously, I'm sure there's stuff. Consciously, I don't know how this is going to sound, but this is the first time I actually thought of putting some sort of strategy or process into parenting like we would a business or anything else. Never considered it. So
Yeah.
I guess that's a very clear answer, that we wing it a lot. And I guess that there's just a lot of subconscious stuff that will come through. And, parents are fallible, and I hope that most of our learnings, I hope that we've got balanced learnings against our own parents' failings as well as their successes.
Yeah, because no one had perfect parents, right?
Absolutely not. And some didn't have them at all, or even half of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good perspective really to like give your mom and dad some credit, like that they were using the skills that they kind of had, that like you don't know how their parents parented them. Like, and I know people hold, there's kind of those grudges. And I remember a time in my life where it's like, I was a teenager, like you kind of like hate your dad. And it's like, these rules and this, I'll never be like you. Like a lot of people have said that.
Yeah.
And, he was kind of doing the best with what he had. And then, in hindsight, his rules, my dad was pretty good about having rules, gave me a good solid foundation of boundaries in life. He didn't do every area of my life, but it definitely gave me some boundaries, that taught me to work hard, save money, and treat people decent. Right. So
seems like you're doing a good job.
Well, and a lot of where I'm trying to learn from is like, I've taken the perspective years ago is to try to learn from other men, and like, whether it's a conversation with you, or it's men that I have more time with, like on a weekly basis. For me, it'd be at church. I went on a mission trip once. It was actually for soccer in Southeast Asia. I'll have to tell you about that story sometime. That was kind of life-changing and pretty cool. But one of the guys that led the trip, we connected through soccer, and he became a mentor of mine. And I saw him raise his family in a way that I didn't. My parents weren't like that. Like my parents were, got married at like 16 and 17 and just were kind of struggling with this party life when we showed up, and they're just figuring some stuff out. But then I got to see this guy, just totally different strategy with their kids, and just, not letting the kids run the home for sure, but kind of just really giving to them and connecting with them, talking with them. And it's like, I feel like my parents maybe didn't connect with us a ton, and they, for whatever reason.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
I know it's your interview, but
no, yeah.
On your fantastic shirt there, the very first thing it says is faith. Were your parents religious, or did they become religious? Or, I'm sorry, there's a difference between faith and religion. I get that.
Sure.
I'm assuming there's a strong religious factor here. So the question goes, were they religious, and did you become religious on your own? And was that because of any kind of impact or influence or lack of some sort of need from your parents?
Good question.
I'll
from
take
what
over the interview.
Yeah, this is great. Got me thinking here. Yeah, so from what I remember of that they've told me is that they were kind of not really religious. Some like Mormon people reached out to them, and they kind of got baptized maybe in the Mormon church. And then they kind of got out of that pretty quick based on some advice from somebody, and started going to these Christian churches. And so there was like, as we showed up, there was this little bit of like religion, or that we would show up to like church for sure I call us Creasters, on Christmas and Easter. Like we're the family that shows up, you know, and I'd had to go to the Sunday school or something. And then occasionally we would go for like, you know, a few months straight and then not really go. So it wasn't real consistent. We didn't really have it in our home. So I'd say no, we didn't really grow up where it was like very religious, but there was a little aspect of it. And I more came into my faith in college. I had a soccer teammate invite me to his church, and that's when I first heard about like Jesus, right, being your savior. And it was like this charismatic event. Like one of my buddies was there, and he's like, "Oh, you remember that? They were like spinning babies on their heads and dancing." It was like, he was Catholic, right? And where you did not act like that in church. And it was just, it really, something that night really touched my heart. And I did pray to like receive Christ. Yeah, I'm like, whoa, I am a sinner. You know, I need Jesus. And I kind of walked away from that like weeks later because I was so excited to get to college to really, you know, party and do the thing that I've been waiting like all through high school to get to.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just kind of went off the deep end and just had fun and did everything my heart desired, right, for 3 years. And it kind of got me just, I mean, we were drinking like every single day that we could. If we had money, we were drinking. And we typically had money to do it. Yeah. And I was on scholarship, you know, out at Montana State. And, oh man, I was just sucking in school. I stopped going to class because I just wanted to do the partying, right? And so anyways, that kind of brought a lot of depression, like a lot of that alcohol and all that different stuff. And so that's where a night I called out to God all by myself and kind of what I would say repented. That's what started it really for me to have faith and really walk in him and find out what it really meant. And because I just felt the gravity of the life I was living, and I asked him to forgive me. And I kind of had a spiritual experience where I was like, I felt forgiven, like in my body, like in my heart. And
nice.
Yeah. And so then that's when I pursued it. Yeah. And it did. So yeah, maybe some lack in my parents, you know, being there relationally or even religiously, led to some of that, because they actually got separated 2 months before that event even happened. It was just like a lot of just negative in my life. So it was kind of that typical, like, you know, I was coming to one of the worst places in my life that I've ever felt. And that's what that's where I met the Lord. I don't think I would have been open to him otherwise, because I was going and chasing the other things that I wanted. Yeah. And then I don't really like to call that religion. Like I like to call that like faith, because now that's when I started a relationship, right, with God. And it was like, I didn't need the pastor. I don't need a priest to like guide me in that per se. I have access to God. I can read about him in my own Bible. And that's what I started to do. So that's essentially my journey. And I think everything works out in your life for a reason. And I'm glad where I am today, because the Bible, again, gives you like a framework to live, to be a good person, right? So
I like that you you had that definition of faith there, because that goes part of the way towards how I feel about it all. But I'm a bunch of steps further. I like the fact that I personally just have a distaste for organized religion in any form, and that I know of, that I've experienced, that I've researched, that I've been exposed to, all that kind of stuff. I don't like the concept of it, the idea of it. Love the idea of faith, and it doesn't have to be, in my opinion, doesn't have to be another entity or anything. Faith in yourself, faith in your family, faith in people and humanity. Those things matter to me. And I think most of the religions are all trying to do the same thing anyway, which is just be good to one another and help each other. And if you can do that personally, I believe if you can do that without having to follow an organized religion, then you're just as faithful and good as the next guy, despite someone telling you that you're going to hell if you don't do this or this, right?
Sure.
That's where my sort of belief in faith lies.
Yeah. And so you've kind of, sounds like everyone's on a spiritual journey, would you say? And I say spiritual, I mean beliefs, right? And finding why are we here? Like that's a big question. that.
Well, I'm here for your very second one there, which is family. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
that is my why.
Yeah,
After that, finances and fitness are the things that support me being able to give to family.
sure, sure. So, did you like what was life growing up for you? Like, is there religion, or did you have some obviously experiences with like organized religion that clearly got you to the point that
I,
you're at?
I'm not damaged by religion. I grew up Catholic primary schools, high schools. Had no big issue, no big problem, no falling out, no. I didn't have a huge belief then, and it just grew. The more my exposure to life grew, and other religions and other ways of being and thinking and doing, the further I fell away from organized anything. So, and I like it. I used the wrong term there. I don't like saying I fell away from something. I grew into something more, in my opinion.
Sure. And is that something you and your wife kind of did together, or is that something that you were doing before, you guys came together?
I think she's more religious than I am. She believes in God and Catholic processes, procedures, rules, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
We both went through the same schooling, but the same type of school. But she's more religious than I am. It doesn't cause problems. I'm respectful of your beliefs and most religious people's beliefs. So we're respectful of each other's, and like it never really comes up. One might get up and go do the body of Christ, or I forget what it's called, communion. It goes for communion, and I'll sit there and go, yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'll still sit there in the church when my friend's getting married, though, because that's supporting the friend. It never really comes up. That's about it. That's the only time I can think of.
Yeah, I think it's I like that you're saying that you guys are respectful of things, because I think we should respect just people, right? Like, because everyone is going to have some belief that they live by, and it's actually
the lack of belief as well. It's the lack of belief that's respectful, because they're just not there yet, or they don't have to be there, and they're comfortable defining it as something else. Why are we so judgy of people? Like, that's one of the things I hate about organized religion, specific types, where you have to be an evangelist, you have to say you're going to hell if you don't do this, you have to do all that stuff. Just grinds my gears, because it does not align with live and let live and do right for others and be kind to humanity.
And that's what I was going to kind of say too, like that respect people as a human, right? Because they're in their process, right? And you're in your process, and you're, coming to a place that you want to be and you like to be, but yet, and you're respecting other people. And I've kind of come through I wasn't religious growing up. I entered in and kind of saw, not from the Catholic perspective, I went to more like Christian evangelical churches, and a Bible school. And there is some like indoctrination to that, right? And like you were saying, it's organized, and they actually add rules to the Bible that aren't even in the Bible. I mean, and then the Catholic Church is good at that too. Just, I'm not trying to, it is what it is. They don't have the best history.
We could say that about any religion.
You could say that about any religion. Well, I think what you don't like is kind of what I don't like, because I say like I don't like religion. I hate it. And that was what I was trying to say, is the relationship like to God, or being like spiritual, like to me that's like the sweet spot, that another man doesn't have to tell me what to do, because I think men like to have power over other men, and that's a problem with religion, is they love telling you what you need to do to please God more, even if they don't do it. And that's to me what religion is, or else,
or else, and you're threatened, and it's like, really, like, I love spirituality, I love faith. It doesn't have to be religious, it doesn't have to conform to someone's rules.
And that I'm learning that after maybe I've been walking like 21 years, since 2001 January, and it's like, to me it wasn't religion to start, and then I got into religion because you're going to churches, and somehow that just kind of rubs off on you, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, because because even churches like to, what I say is like red flag other people who aren't our church, right? They don't, they're Baptist or they're Mormon, they're Catholic. Oh, we're cousins maybe, but we don't associate with them. Right. Which is, I think, the wrong perspective. Like, we're really good at dividing instead of saying, you know what, Aaron, I respect you and I respect where you're at. Right. I'm in a different place. And if you'll respect me, dude, I'd love to have a relationship with you. Like, we could be friends, right? We could play soccer. It's like, it's about respecting people.
I don't know. I don't think that you're up for playing soccer with me. I'm now in that old dodgy league where I'll just run at you really hard and not pull up.
Oh, dude, I'm not even sure how I'd play anymore. I'd rather just not get hurt. Here, take the ball. Oh man, I'm not even sure. Man, you got me even thinking, like, could I even play right now? I'm 42.
I'm really, really bad.
You are?
I'm really bad now. I used to be really, really good, and now I am embarrassed about my performance, but I get to move around and have a laugh with guys and be social.
What position do you play?
Striker.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You're the goal scorer, dude. That's like my dream. I always wanted to be striker, and I was just a better defender. So that's awesome.
I think I'd rather be playing defense now, but they all want me to play striker because I can run. Well, I could run.
That's awesome. Oh man. So fitness for you is it pretty natural then, since you just have always just played soccer? Do you lift weights? What's your weekly routine for you?
Yeah, we're lucky enough to be able to have a gym in our house. So we do a bunch of weights down there. We live on an island, so we have a running track around the water. And I got into cycling in the last couple of years, so I've got a road bike and get out on that as well. So that with football, it's a lot of movement. The problem is finding the time. But consistency is the key. I mean, I travel so much for work at the moment that a lot of that can only be done here, except for the gym, and that gets pretty boring.
Interesting. So what do you use fitness for? Like, is it just because it's just fun and you've always done it, or is it actually like stress management, or like, what is it to you?
It's being in my 40s now and wanting to, I said it's there for the family. I want to be around. I want to be able to kick the ball with the kids and still be active and energetic. And that's primarily that. I still want my wife to find me attractive.
Those are good motivations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't know me, like in January this year, but man, I was about, maybe not 40 pounds heavier. And so, wow. Yeah, I kind of let it go with that dad bod.
It's the pizza we were talking about before.
It really was. There was part of it that was that. I just got used to, my wife's having a baby. Okay, she's laid out. And so, hey guys, we're going out to eat if dad's cooking. Yeah. So, which is not a good strategy. Not a good strategy. And then they knew how to, my kids knew how to use me too a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, McDonald's, Dad? Or they'll say something I liked and like, okay, yeah, let's just go do that. I'm not going to cook anything. So.
You're looking good. You should be proud.
I feel good. And anyways, that's why right now I'm like, I could possibly try to play soccer again, maybe lose a little bit more, but 8 months ago,
slow.
No way.
That's all that it is.
Yeah.
Start slow, take it easy.
Yeah. And now I want to do more stuff with my kids too. If they're not going to be into sports, then I probably won't. They want to do hiking and they want climbing. I'm going to get into that. So more just for that time efficiency too. And that's kind of a big motivation too for me to own my own business, is that I kind of want them to work up with me, right? Just to because they're either going to work for someone else, get the 8 hours there, or work with me, and I'll get a little bit of that discipleship time where, it's me and them. They get to see how their dad's like in the world. And I guess maybe that's kind of a dream, but
I think it's critical. I mean, there's one of my favorite posts that was written a bunch of years ago now. It's on the blog. I'm sure you've heard of it. Wait, but why? It's called The Tail End. And have you read that one?
No.
Oh, okay. So you read that one, and it's the maths behind just how many birthdays, Christmases, and whatnot you have left with the people you care about most, and it's done in graphs and different things like that. And it's a really hard hitting post that sits there, and you realize that my 12-year-old's not going to want to do summer vacations with me in 6 years.
Yeah.
Right? I might have 6 more trips left with my kid that are those summer vacations. And those hard-hitting realities are the ones that sort of make me really take note and think about how to make the most of them. And so it ties in with what you were just saying.
I like what you're saying there. I feel actually Kyle Mallion shared something too this week, and a few other things hit me this week, and what you're saying there too. And it was like, be present.
Yeah.
And that, you just had to say that. And I was like, oh my goodness, how easy is it for me to just get caught up in like digging into this company, doing this. And it's like,
it's not just you, it's all of us. Don't be hard on yourself.
And then I have this. Yeah, go ahead.
You got to read that post. Wait, but why? The tail end.
Yep. I got it half written down. And then I got this beautiful, 3-year-old daughter, just in the cutest phase of life.
Yeah.
And that's this week. That's what's just been hitting me. It's like, you know what? I'm getting out of this office, and I'm going to go watch her play or play with her, because I only have her for a little bit of time. And so, I would hate to kind of get to where, 18 years from now, it's like, oh, dude, I didn't take advantage of that, and I missed out. So anyways, so do you find being present something challenging for you? Like, I feel like for entrepreneurs, it has to be regulated and balanced somehow, right?
I've now spent almost half my life being an entrepreneur, and I don't know how to switch my brain off. I could have no phone in my hand and I could be there doing things, but the problems are ruminating and being solved still in my head while I'm doing other things. It's not fair on me or on the kids or on anyone, but it's one of my battles to overcome.
Sure. And I'm not trying to coach you, but I just did an interview, and it hasn't come out yet, with a guy that he kept challenging, or his people that he coaches to journal. Do you do any kind of thing like that? And I'm trying to glean from different guys. And so I see some people do the journaling, some people meditate and pray. What do you think of that?
Something's going to work for everyone, and I haven't found mine yet. I do that much writing and reading throughout the day that I can't imagine wanting to journal is going to make me feel any better or different. And I've tried the meditating side of things, and I feel like an idiot. And I've tried hard, and I've gone, no, but you'll get into it. And okay, I'll keep trying. And I don't reach some epiphany that people tend to have. So I'm sure there's something out there for me. I don't know what it is.
It's probably mountain climbing or something, dude.
It's the exercise. Yeah, it's probably
exercise. Yeah. I think that's something about men that people are all wired for exercise in a tech world. So,
yeah.
Well, Aaron, I want to just thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time.
Sure.
This is a great conversation, just kind of going all over the place. And again, I respect you and appreciate all that you shared about your belief, your family, and your business. And so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the time. It was a great conversation.
All right, everybody, if you found value today, just hit the like button, share this out to your friends and family, anybody you know that might find some value in this conversation. And so I want to encourage all you men out there, put some energy this week, calculated energy into your faith, family, finances, and fitness, and be present, right, with your family. And so that's the message this week. Have a good one.